Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Ask the Nanny. Tonight, we have a special show for you, and we are going to be talking with Miss Rainey, and we're going to be talking about baby sign language, something that is near and dear to my heart, something that I use personally with my own child because he couldn't hear for the first year of his life. So, this is something that is, you all know, I have certain things that are near and dear to my heart. Well, this is one of them. So, I want to let Rainey introduce herself to you, tell you all a few things about herself, and a fun fact while I share this to uh, some of my groups. And if you are watching, please share to your groups, to your mom's groups, your nanny groups, your parent groups, whatever group that you're in, please share so that as many people as possible can watch and learn about baby sign language. So, your turn, Rainey.
Hi. My name is Rainey. Yes, my name is Rainey Knight. I know that's kind of funny, and it's also kind of a fun fact about me is that I'm actually married, so I was not born with that name. I am a nanny. I've been a nanny for 7 years, and I've always used baby sign with my kids. I'm also fluent in sign language, and actually in the process of becoming a sign language interpreter. So, yeah, I do that. And also, I've been really excited about doing this live with Ask the Nanny, Miss Angela Johnson, because I got to hear about her through Nanny Kim on the Go. And so, yeah, I'm excited to talk more about baby sign. One fun fact about me is that I have two bunnies. They are like my babies because I live in a tiny house. So we're holding off on having kids a little bit longer so they have more space to run around.
Good, good, good. Now, tell me something. What got you interested in doing sign language?
A lot of things, but so my grandmother was a nurse, a caregiver, an in-home caregiver for handicapped children. And one of the kids that she took care of, he had a lot going on, but one thing was that he was mute. And so they used sign language to communicate with him. And she used to take me to work with her. And I was like 5 at the time. And so he used to teach me little signs so that I could communicate with him. So that's how it all started, was that I was learning for him. And then I just kept learning and learning and learning.
So, when you say learning and learning, how much learning does it actually take to become an interpreter? Are you a speech pathologist? That's what, or how, or is there a American Sign Language degree?
Yeah, so there is. So for me, I started in high school taking actual classes. And so I was able to take ASL 1 through 3 in high school. And then I took it again in college. And then ASL 4 through 6 in college. And then went on to take some other classes. So to be nationally certified in the United States, you have to pass a kind of big exam, a written and then a performance exam. And to do that, you have to have a bachelor's degree and experience enough to be able to communicate. And they also recommend that you have like a code of ethics class and an interpreting class specifically. So it takes a lot of education.
Well, I took ASL 1, 2, and 3. I am a baby sign language instructor. I'm not an interpreter, nor do I have any aspirations of being an interpreter. As long as I can finger spell, we're going to be all right. So, how long does this take? All this whole, if you just went straight through, I'll put it like that. If you just went straight through, how long does all this process take? I know a bachelor's degree, some people can knock it out in 3 years if they go to summer school, most of them in 4, but then all the extra classes and the tests and everything. How long does that usually take? Just in case somebody is watching and they want to figure out, if I want to do this.
Yeah. So I'd say that going through college regular, like bachelor's degree, I give people 4 years because I'm like, don't want to like cram. So 4 years to get your bachelor's degree, and within that you can take your interpreter training program, or ITP, which is specifically where you learn to be an interpreter, and that takes about, I think it's a year and a half or 2 years of schooling, and usually they can work that into your bachelor's degree, so you're looking at about 4 years of school, probably like 5 with that ITP on it. And then, of course, whatever time you need to take to get good. So there's a difference between just learning sign language and being able to pass the classes, and then actually being a good interpreter, because I do love the deaf community. My specific sign language class is not a representation of the deaf community. I do it with a deaf friend of mine. But I will say that I do love the deaf community as a whole. And so we want to give them the best interpreters. We don't just want to give them, the "so I think I can do it" interpreters. So you want to have them to actually try.
Okay, so we have some comments from our audience. Christina Cass says, listening on the way home, just like old times. Yes, hello, Christina, just like old times. When I first started Ask the Nanny, Christina would say, I'm tuning in, but I'm driving home. I'm listening. So here it is 3 years later, and we're still tuning in and driving home, because she is, where is she? Out in California, too. So, hello, Kareem. How are you? Kareem says, good evening, ladies from the Philippine Islands.
Wow.
And I learned sign from a few dating crushes in California back in the day. Wonderful people. Hi, Caitlin Pratt says, hello. So excited to learn more about ASL and your business, OSSS.
Yeah, it's a lot of S's.
Oh, OSSS. Kareem says, me too, finger spelling. And M. Harper Lee says, not only signing, but facial expression is important too. Yes, that is important too. You have to be an actress in order to do this. Because I can say this, that sign language is a very expressive language. And when I was teaching sign language to my 4-year-old preschool class, they used to, I said, show me happy. And they was like, I said, no, show me happy. I need to see happy. And one little boy, when I said, okay, I said, show me scared. He was going, I was just like, okay, his face. And he would go, I was like, okay, you got it. You take the cake. That's it. But I used to give their facial expressions, and uh it's an emotional language, and they get to show their emotions, which is one of the reasons that I taught them, because you don't know. I can tell you I'm not feeling well, but if it's written all over your face, then you feel it. It's like a feel thing. So they definitely became little characters. I'll put it like that. They became little characters. Okay, so M. Harper says, love ASL. I am HOH and started learning some signs later in life. Not fluent though, but hope to get back to it. It's important to learn more about deaf culture. Yes, it is. Hello, Meeches. How are you? Let's
Yeah,
see.
so really quick, the part of that comment where you're talking about learning about deaf culture, and facial expression, it's super important. There's like little things that you don't pick up on until you've been signing in the community for a while, which is why I recommend not just going through the schooling, but like getting involved in the deaf community.
Yes.
One of my favorite examples of this is this sign right here. And it means what? Or, hey, look over there. And so I didn't know that at first, and I would be hanging out with one of my friends, the one that I'm doing signing with now, and she would always be like, and I would be like, what? And then finally I realized, oh, she's telling me to look that way. So it's like those little things where you're like, oh, and it's just like you see it more once you know that it's a thing. But definitely
Yes.
learning about deaf culture and things. So when we put together our class, which will be coming out sooner than later, hopefully, we are going to include a section about deaf culture and kind of how to be respectful in the deaf community when you're learning sign language.
Mhm. I was in Washington, D.C. when I learned, well, actually in Maryland, when I learned, and I visited quite frequently Gallaudet College, which is college for the deaf, and several, one of the, one of the things that we had to do in each one of my sign language 1, 2, and 3 is we had to perform at the end of the, what was it, 10-week classes, because this was continuing education. At the end of each class, uh, we had to perform, and there was a deaf lady that came, and it was my first time seeing someone deaf perform to music. So she was standing by the speakers and she had her hand on the speaker. I would have never known that she was deaf because she's just smiling and looking, and everybody's like, and everybody's signing it in the room because this is a sign language class. Everybody's signing, and I didn't know who could hear and who couldn't. So she has her hand on the speaker, and all of a sudden, our teacher says, "We have someone here who's going to perform." She didn't tell us that she was deaf or anything. So she came up and she started speaking, and it did not sound as if she was deaf, but she is. And I was like, how did she do that? When she was done, I was like, how did she do that? I mean, because she was signing a song and dancing to it and signing at the same time. And I'm just looking at her, I'm like, and I was like, man, I want to be like her. And then after class, I found out she was deaf. I just went up and started talking to her, and she's talking back to me. We're going back and forth. And I said, so are you an interpreter? Are you a teacher? She said, well, I teach at Gallaudet, and I am deaf. And I was like, and she's like, I get that all the time. And I was like, but she was so fascinating that I took part 2 and 3. So she encouraged me, but I used sign language when my son was born but I only used I looked up like 4 or 5 signs so he could communicate with me. It wasn't full lessons, but I was so just blown away. And it's like you said, it's the little nuances that you don't know about until you see it. And just watching people sign, I'm like, okay, why are you eavesdropping on their conversation? And I'm thinking, oh, I know that sign. Oh, I know that sign. But all the signs in between, I'm like, okay, so I know they're talking about a house, and I know they're talking about kids. I'm like, are the kids at home? So it takes a while to learn. I know about 700 words, but if I don't have anybody to practice with, I lose it. And I haven't had anybody to practice with in a long time. So I'm afraid that I'm about down to 200 right now. But I want to practice. So let me see. We have some comments. Um, we do that, the thing with your mouth. Oh, Meaches is from Guatemala, and she said the little thing that you did with the. Caitlin says, does every verbally spoken language have a sign equivalent? Teaching my current little one English, Spanish, and ASL, I'm curious if I should be learning about other versions of sign. Yes, yes, yes. I'll let you speak to that because I have a story about that too. I'll let you
Okay.
speak to that first.
So first of all, Caitlin, it depends on if you're teaching them sign language as a language. Like if you want them to grow up and know ASL, American Sign Language, which is used in the US for the most part, and in Canada. So that's the question. But also there is for every spoken language, there is a sign equivalent. And there's like little variations, like kind of how there's pidgin in a lot of areas, like there's like Creoles. So basically there is a sign language equivalent to every spoken language. That's putting it simply. But if you're just teaching them English, Spanish, and American Sign Language is a language that stands on its own. And so if you're teaching them those three different languages, that's awesome, first of all. But also, you don't have to teach them SEE, which would be Signed Exact English, or you don't have to teach them MLS, which is Mexican Sign Language. You don't have to teach them Spanish Sign Language. You don't have to teach them all the variations if you're teaching them ASL, because ASL is a language itself. And if they live here in the US, then ASL is the sign language they're going to see most often and interact with.
Yes. Now, I had a play group. It was called Talk Talk Play Group. When I was in DC, and I had 4 different locations in the DC area. But I had a parent and child come to one of my classes. She signed up for one of my classes, and as I'm teaching, she looked at me strange. And after class, she said, "That's not what we learned." I said, "What?" She said, "That's the sign for a dog. We don't do it that way." She said, "We are from England. We don't sign that way." I said, "Oh, okay, that explains it." So some of the signs that we do are not the same signs that other countries do.
Mm-hmm.
And their signs are a different word. But there are several. I explained to her. I said, some words have several different signs. I said it just depends on what the sentence structure is, what you're talking about. I said in some cases, and sometimes it's just what's easier to teach the child. And I go with the one that's easier to teach the child because it's just going to be me, them, and mom, basically, talking, because I can't teach the kids without including the parents, because it's especially if the child is not verbal. Mom and dad are not going to know what they're talking about. And then they're really going to get frustrated, and which was the reason that I taught them baby sign language in the first place, so they would, to alleviate the frustration. And if mom and dad don't know what they're talking about, then yeah, we still got a problem. So
Yeah.
I love that there's a sign for in different languages, and that was my first experience, because it was my first experience finding out that it was like, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, well, I'm doing it right for my country. You do it right for your country. And whatever you taught your daughter, I don't want to confuse her. She said, no. She said, this is good because we're living here now and we need to know what's going on here. I said, okay.
Yeah. So I will say too, Caitlin, that baby sign language and American Sign Language are 2 different things. American Sign Language is a full-blown language. It has grammar, it has syntax, it has vocabulary. It is a full language. Baby Sign Language. Okay, so if you're teaching them ASL, American Sign Language, versus baby sign language, those are 2 different things. So in baby sign language, if you're teaching them just so that they could be communicative with you right now, it doesn't matter. Like, you can say, for example, please in ASL. Now, if I was translating from Spanish to ASL, por favor is still signing please in ASL.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to teach them Spanish Sign Language or Mexican Sign Language, which are different sign languages, then you would have to look up those signs. And then at that point, you're not teaching them ASL. So if you're teaching them ASL that you want them to use later in life, just teach them ASL. This is please. And in Spanish, we say por favor. So this is still please. It's still the same sign. But those are 2 different languages. So like baby sign language, sometimes it's okay to use different signs from different sign languages. that are easier for your baby to use. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to make up signs for your baby to use. You want to pull true ASL signs, or if you're just teaching them baby sign for the ease of communication with your baby, then using sign language signs, true signs from other sign languages is okay too.
Okay. I think, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
BSL is what they use in England. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. BSL. Okay. So, now, as you were saying, baby sign language. In teaching baby sign language, you have to know your child, because children's dexterity of their fingers, their signs will not look the same. I teach more. I had a child, this was his more. That's all he got, was when I figured out this was his sign for more. That does not mean I stopped signing more. Oh, you want more. So I would sign the sign correctly, even though he was signing like this.
Yes.
But I mean, 18 months old, he's still communicating. That was the purpose of me teaching him, was so that he could communicate. And in knowing that he was communicating with me was perfectly all right with me.
Yeah, and that's the same as like hearing like English, you know, when you teach your kid English and you say daddy and they say dada. You're still going to say daddy, or you're going to say it correctly because you want them to eventually learn the correct word. What they say at the time, that's what they're going to say at the time.
Right. It's a development. Over time, they will develop more of a daddy instead of, I hear da-da. This is what my mind can say right now, da-da. So I'm going to say da-da. And daddy will come along in a few months. But yeah, you teach them. And I also speak. It's not no, I said, do you want more? And I don't sign, do you want more? I only sign more. Or I see you're happy, and I speak a full sentence to give them sentence structure, to give them vocabulary to speak, to words to use. It's not I don't sign the whole sentence. I only sign what I really want them to learn, which is, I see you're happy. I like it when you're happy. And I sign it when I say happy, that's when I sign, not the whole sentence, signing through the whole sentence. Caitlin says, great explanation, teaching a youngster whose parents are from Peru, but parent doesn't use sign. So not diving into anything but ASL for now. Thank you. Ooh, yes. Great idea.
And if you teach the kid ASL and they want to keep learning sign language, if later the parents and them go and take a trip to Peru, they'll still have the advantage of being used to communicating with their body and more gestures. And there's like what's called classifiers in ASL, which will help them pick up on Peruvian sign language faster. So you're still helping them eventually if they want to learn Peruvian sign language too. ASL is a great start.
Now, there is a myth that teaching a child sign language delays their speech. I know personally from the children I have taught that it actually accelerates. What are your thoughts on that?
So, this is always an interesting topic.
We talk about this. But we got to get into it.
Yeah. So it is a myth. It is a hands down myth that teaching a kid sign language delays their speech. The difference is a child will lean on sign language. So, and some children do lean on sign language. So, for example, if you teach a child sign language first, they may know that they can communicate with sign language, and so they'll be less prone to practice verbalizing. But if you're signing and talking to your kid at the same time, it's the equivalent of teaching them two spoken languages at the same time. So if if you're teaching your child, please, por favor, and then they will eventually say both words, but in the beginning they'll pick one and they'll use it because it's the one that they know and the one they can say. It's the same in sign language. If you teach them please, my bad. If you teach them please, they might just stick to this for a while, but eventually they'll say please. And a lot of times with hearing kids, eventually they'll drop the signs altogether unless you keep them going. So it really does help them because once the whole time that you're teaching them sign language, even though they're just replying with signs, they're building a vocabulary. So a sign counts as a word. If you're counting how many words your kid knows and can speak to you, a sign counts as a word. So then a sign and a word, that counts as two like spoken words because sign language is a language. So they end up seeming sometimes that they're only replying with sign language, so then it seems like their speech is delayed. But ultimately, when they do start talking, they use all the words because they already know what the concept is. Now they know what the word is. So then it looks like a little explosion of language in a sense. So yeah. I definitely recommend using sign language with babies.
I had a 16-month-old, and when I got there, started working with this family. He was 16 months old. And it was funny because I was teaching him please, and he spoke English, German, and I was teaching him sign language. So I said, can you say please? And he said, bitte. And I'm like, I didn't know that was the word for please in German at the time. I said, say please. And he says, bitte. Like, didn't you hear me the first time? And I said, okay, you can sign if you want to. You can say please. His older brother was like 4 at the time. He said, Miss Angela, bitte is please in German. And I just went, okay.
He's like, I did.
I'm like, I'm trying to teach you sign language, and you're teaching me German. He's like, I said it. Didn't you hear me? I said it twice. What else do you want from me? So I'm just like, ah. So, but he speaks German. He speaks English, and he knows sign language, and now he's learning French. So he's going to be multilingual, multilingual, but it just, so if you're teaching, going back to Caitlin, I think it was that was doing okay. So going back to Caitlin is teaching English, Spanish, and American Sign Language. And because she knows all of these languages, I've heard the 16-month-old, he'll say one word in English, one word in German, another word in English, and then go like this. And I'm like, okay, all I caught was the please and whatever you said in English. The rest of it, I have no clue what you're talking about. So I ended up learning German, a few words in German, just by working with them because they went to a German preschool. And being around and listening to the language when you walk into the German preschool, that's what they speak. That's all German. And some of the families spoke English and were native to America, but because of the military, they ended up in Germany and ended up speaking German. So they had their children, and I was like, okay, so somebody in here got to be speaking English. Let me see if I can find. I said, I need some help because I need to find. And I know kids feel that way when they walk into it. When you're trying to teach them, it's like, what are you saying to me? What are you saying to me? But they pick up easier. They pick up the language because they're such sponges. They pick up the language so much easier than we do. I remember I was taking when I started taking American Sign Language. I was doing my student teaching in a speech and motor clinic, and they paired me with a child who was mute, and he just started signing at me, and I'm like, okay, I know about five signs. The one's not top for sign. Why would y'all put me? Well, we know that you were taking sign language. I'm like, yeah, but So I decided to take the sign language. But once I started taking sign language, I did my student teaching on the weekends, and I had a little girl that I was taking to Spanish class once a week. I could not remember those words from one week to the next. When I started taking sign language, it was like my whole brain opened up. And when I went, like, it was like 3 weeks in, I went back and she started speaking in Spanish. I was like, I know that word. I know that word. I know that word. I was like, when did I learn these words? When did I? And not realizing she's been over these words over and over and over again. You just didn't remember them. But I honestly think that by me learning the sign language, it opened up like both sides of my brain so that that translation, the incoming and outgoing, I was like, okay, you got to think and then spit it back out. I think that had something to do with me all of a sudden knowing what these Spanish words were, because before I was like, I have no clue, and the kids were picking up on it, and I was like, I know I can pick up on this language. But it was so hard for me until I started learning American Sign Language. Now, that's just my story and that's just my belief. But learning American Sign Language opened my mind to a lot of other languages, and I learned them faster. What I was trying to, I was like, okay, she's going to Spanish class. I'm going to learn Spanish too. That was one of the hardest things I had to do because it was like I couldn't comprehend it. And yeah, it's like American Sign Language just opened up both sides of my brains, which tells me that kids are the same way. They learn faster than we do. So if you're teaching them American Sign Language with any language, yes, they have to interpret, but that does not necessarily mean delay.
Mm.
So delaying speech and interpreting in order to respond is two different things.
Yeah, and honestly, so like from my personal experience, I do speak Spanish, I speak English, and I use ASL. So, Caitlin. um, but sometimes I'm not even kidding you. I'll look at my husband. I'll be talking to him. I'm like, what's the word for that in English? Now, English is my first language, you guys. And still, sometimes I'm like, he just left me. Like, I don't, but I can sign it and I can say it in Spanish, but I cannot find the English word. And I think that sometimes our brains just get so many words and languages going that we're just like, whatever one I can pull and give you is the one you're
Understand me.
Yeah. And also, I'm curious about, I just had a quick question for Caitlin. If you're teaching all of them simultaneously, like, are you trying to make the child fluent in all of those languages, or are you just teaching little bits of every language? Because I have one friend of mine whose son is, they're Spanish speaking. She also speaks English, but she also signs with him. And she just chooses the easiest of the sign language sign for something, the Spanish word or the English word for something. And that's the one he learns. So, like, for example, banana was really hard to say in Spanish and in English for him. So they just stuck to the sign for a really long time. But that way, they always have at least one of those three languages to pull vocab from for him. So I'm curious if you're doing the same thing.
Wow, that's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it works really well. He's adorable signing with his little chunky hands.
Christina says one of my nanny kiddos started signing before speaking, and the mom apologized, but the pediatrician said signs count as words, and they do.
Yep.
And so many benefits. I mean, the fine motor skills that they would not even attempt to do. It's like And it's cognitive because in order to hear English and respond with a sign language means it's got to come in, translate, shake it up in there, and then respond back. And as fast as they do it, it's like, oh, I didn't even ask you. Like, but I know what I want. Come on, give me some. So it is fascinating to know, and I'm glad that you said that because a lot of who was it? 1998. So about 20 years ago, pediatricians discouraged uh, several pediatricians that I knew because I worked for 9 different families, and several of they had different doctors, and they discouraged sign language,
Hmm.
which is one of the reasons that one of the moms didn't want me to teach her child, but I had a child who was autistic. And I started teaching him signs. I was the first babysitter other than the their family. I came in and she said he loves to count. He loves to count. He loves to count. So I just started signing with the numbers, and he started trying to sign with me. His little fingers were like, and I was like, "Oh, you want to count again?" I said, "1, 2, 3," and he's like, and he kept going like this. And so after a while, after several months went by, he would uh, tell his mom, Angela, Angela, Angela. He finally learned how to, and she said, he has been asking for you. And when I come through the door, he grabs my hand and he starts pointing at things. He especially his little farm animals. He would go and point at things and say, and this, and he's like, and I was like, it's like, sign this. What's the sign for that? What's the sign for this? And he would push his mom and dad out the door so that we could sign. And he was like 4 years old. So it was like it opened up a whole new world because he was nonverbal. But it opened up a whole new world for him to be able to sign. And I was so glad that I could communicate with this child. He understood what we were telling him, but the sign language was like, oh, wow, that it was his special thing. And every time I came over there, he'd find something new. I'm like, man, you're not even gonna understand this because I don't know what the sign for that is. And so I would finger spell it for him. I said, I don't even know if I spelled that right. He just looking at me like so. But it was fascinating to watch his whole world open up because of sign language.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like sometimes I get kids who are a bit shy, and when we do sign language together, um, they open up because they feel more comfortable using their body language and their facial expressions, and just communicating in that way. And so it's helped a lot of kids that I know that have been more introverted. It helps me get them more expressive too.
Kaylin says, Rainey, when do you feel you personally practice or learn most ASL in daily life? How did you learn the fastest to help you become fluent?
So, um, I my husband is also fluent in sign language, so him and I sign all the time. But I also have
I need one of those.
I know. But I also 100% recommend that if you really want to learn sign language, if you really want to get fluent and you want to get fluent fast, first of all, fast is a relative term. But if you really want to get fluent, dive headfirst into the deaf community because that's where you're going to learn sign language in its native sense. So it'd be the equivalent of going to Mexico to learn Spanish or Spain to learn Spanish. You need to just like dive into the community. There are a lot of Facebook community groups for the deaf and hard of hearing community in the area. I know that they do like weekend like Zoom rooms, or they used to do like coffee shops in person, but now COVID. But one other thing you can do, Caitlin, is find someone deaf in the community or someone else that signs and just set up a time to hang out and chat with them casually. So there's me. I'm here. Hi. If you go to my contact page, which is ohsosimply.com/contact-me. You can fill out the form there, and we can set up a time and day that works best for you, that we can just hop on to like Zoom or whatever and just chat for a while. Honestly, having friends like that you can just chat with, that's when I practice the most. I have a lot of deaf friends, and so I will just FaceTime them and we just chat. It's really an integral part of my life now, and me and my husband will just sign to each other when we're eating or being lazy because it's easier sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nietzsche says, I can relate to that. All right. Caitlin says, personally attempting to encourage communication over frustration. Easiest word or sign for sure. Easiest word or sign for sure since she's 12 months at the moment. Not sure what we will do as she grows.
Yeah, so a lot of times if it's easing frustration like that, she'll probably eventually drop the signs once she learns the words for them.
There's meetup groups on meetup.com. Oh, okay. Thank you, M. Harper Lee. Thank you. I had a child. I started teaching him at 3 months. By the time he got to 3 years old, we used to go to the park. And we go to the park, and he said, can we play the sign game? I said, sure. So he would sign to me, and I would sign to him because he would tell me, I'm going to go slide. I said, okay. And then he's like, swing. I said, oh, okay. And he would call my name, and I turned and I looked, and he'd sign what he was going to do. So when he went too far, I say, Will, and he said, he turned, I say, and he's like, I said,
like, I don't want to stop.
I give him, that's when we became very expressive because he would go, and I would go, hello, you heard what I said. Certain looks, you already know what they mean. It's that mama look that you heard me. So he would come back and he's like, I said, oh. And he looked at me. And one woman saw us signing one day. She said, is he deaf? I said, no. I saw you signing to him. I said, uh-huh. Now, this was back in 2001. So it was still pretty new. When I say pretty new, it was pretty new to me because I didn't become a sign language instructor until, let's see, 1998. What did he see? 98? Yeah, in 98. That's when I became a sign language instructor. But I really didn't. It was like you had to know like 150 to 200 words. And I was like, okay, I got this because it was for babies. It wasn't like you were interpreting. It wasn't like you were trying to be fluent. But I went beyond that by when they placed me with that little boy, I was like, okay. So when I got placed with him, I started taking the sign language because I wanted to be able to help this child. I wanted to be able to communicate with him. And he taught me a lot just by his facial expressions and him grabbing my hand and taking me where he wanted to go and pointing. I was like, oh, that's what you want. And then he would sign it to me. I was like, okay, now you got a 5-year-old teaching me. So, but it was so enlightening because learning another language, that was my quote unquote second language. Even though I only knew 700 words, it was enough to get me by, and I could finger spell if I couldn't do anything else. But so you have is it a podcast or with sign language, and you have a friend who does. I saw your I think it was your website. I saw your website. Oh, so simply signs.
Yeah. So We have the Instagram page is at OS Simply Signs. And then we have on my website, ososimply.com/sign-language. And on there, yeah, I have my deaf friend Modell. She's super sweet and adorable. We've been friends for a long time. Anyways, so we do a sign every day. And then at the end of every week, we do a little quiz and you can see how you're doing. I was thinking too, Caitlin, if you're wanting to practice there it goes, the English word is gone. Like listening skills in sign language, you can also find some sign accounts on Instagram and just get used to watching different deaf signers. I'm reading a comment.
At what age would you recommend finding a playgroup or class for children using ASL as a second language?
I mean, my recommendation is like 2 or 3, because at that point they're liking to play with other kids, because when they're little, they're just stingy with their toys. But when they get old enough to start interacting with other kids and when they have enough signs. So I'd say like 2 probably is around the age that I would start trying to pair them up with other babies that knew sign language so they could sign together.
Okay, so I must be ahead of the times because I accepted babies into my sign language class at the age of 6 months because that's when they can really start holding and manipulating. And most of my babies, because I've had them since they were 0, like fresh out of the hospital, and I just naturally speak with my hands. So by the time they were 6 months old, they were trying to sign and do some of the signs because I always repeat. I always talk like when I'm dressing them and tell them, okay, your shirt's going over your head. Okay, we're putting your right arm in, we're putting your left arm in, things like that. And I would sign like I'm changing your diaper and just different signs when they, oh, do you want to eat this? Do you want your milk or do you want to eat? And they're looking at me. And after a while, babies understand whether I put it like that. We don't give them enough credit because they understand a whole lot more than you think they do. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of babies are getting over on parents. I was like, no, your child is, taking advantage of you being scared and afraid. And I said, you're going to have to,
yeah,
mommy up or daddy up. I said, because they know if I scream long enough and loud enough, you're coming to get me. I said, that's why when you pick them up, they go,
yes.
all that screaming and yelling, that crying, all of a sudden, like, what? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
If you were crying and you're really upset, then you're upset.
Yeah.
But I started at 6 months.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Caitlin. I think I misunderstood the question. For play groups, like if you have other kids that you want to get to them with signing, 2 is what I recommend. Like if you have other nanny kids that are starting to learn sign language, mm-hmm. like so they could get together and practice together. But yeah, like Miss Angela is saying, if you have for teaching babies fresh out of the womb, start teaching them, they'll be fine. And they'll usually pick up on it really fast. And like baby and me signing classes, those you can start super early. They usually start, around like 6 months. Sorry.
Okay, so we have an off-topic comment. M. Harper Lee is asking, I read in your bio that you built your own tiny house.
I did.
I'm a tiny house advocate. I ran meetup groups, etc. on tiny house and alternative living and plan on building a tiny house on wheels though this summer. Love reading a professional in the field living tiny. Oh, I couldn't. I'm sorry. My kitchen. Oh Lord, I can't. My person.
She can't even.
My tiny house will be one big kitchen. I'm just saying. Well, the table's gonna flip over and become the bed. I'm just saying. I have to have a kitchen. I can't do it.
That's so
I
funny.
I applaud you all, but
Yeah, we actually we had thought about tiny living, and then we kind of were like in a like we had to move out of our house because someone was moving into it, and we were looking for apartments in our area and they were too expensive, and we were like, let's just build a tiny house, it'll be fine. So we did, and it was really fun. It's 200 square feet in case anyone's curious, and it's a complete open floor plan. The only door in our house is our bathroom door. The rest of them, we have a curtain that separates my husband's office from the rest of the house, but that's it. Simple, simple.
oh, okay. I was trying to think and say I could do that. Sure, yeah, I could do, and then I thought, no. I just, I just, I love all the kitchen tools and gadgets and gizmos. I could probably condense it down to a few things, but I don't want to.
Yeah,
That's,
I did
that's
have
the
to get
thing.
rid of a lot of
I
stuff.
don't want to. Not that I can't. I don't want to.
Yep, and that's the difference.
Okay, so Caitlin says you actually both addressed my question.
Oh,
Love the different perspectives.
I'm glad.
Live tiny, big life. That's true. I do know. Okay, when my husband is working in Pennsylvania, and they have in one of the residence inns where you got the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen, and all. It's I don't know how big it is, but it's probably not the same size as your tiny house, but it's small.
Mm.
And it has two burners, no oven, just two burners. And
Oh,
I'm just like,
no, we do have an oven. I made sure of that. We have an, because I do like to bake a lot, and I have my Instant Pot, and I have my Dutch oven because I like to make big soups in the winter. So like I do have, I made a lot of counter space in here, and we do have our oven.
so does it fold up and become
Our
something
counter
else?
doesn't fold. I just made it really long. We actually also have a piano in our house, so like you could do a lot with some small space.
It's an upright, right?
No. It's we did a full length weighted keyboard. I had a full upright in our house before we moved. Because both me and my husband love playing piano, and so we couldn't get rid of that. And then we mounted our guitars on the walls, so like we made the room for the stuff we needed.
Okay, so what else do? You play the piano, you speak Spanish, you do ASL, you have a podcast. What else do? You built a house, uh, which means you got some carpentry skills. You made a and that means you got some an architect up in you somewhere. Um, and then planning, you have to have organization skills in order to live in a tiny house. So I'm finding out more fun facts about you than you gave on, than you let on.
Yeah, I don't know. I yeah, I yeah. My newest endeavor is to make, my best friend just brought over a mother to start making kombucha. So that's my next big adventure.
I love kombucha.
Me too. And I was like tired of buying it. So I was like, you make yours? Can you help me? So I've been making sourdough bread. That was like the start of COVID. That was the big,
Oh yeah,
trend.
yeah,
But I
yeah. Because
actually,
yeast was gone.
yeah. Yes. So I've been making sourdough pancakes a lot. But yeah, we try to live super simple, and like I try really hard to live pretty zero waste. So I do a lot of like cooking from scratch and like making different products and stuff that we use, like cleaning products we use in our house. So yeah. But it means that we get to save money in a lot of ways, and so we do a lot of traveling. Well, obviously not during COVID.
Mitch says now I want to tour your house.
Don't worry. If you follow me on my OS Simply Instagram, I will be posting a tour of the tiny house soon because I've gotten that request too many times. So it'll be up soon.
Okay, Christina says, so sad to leave, but it's dinner time. I look forward to my drive to work, listening to the rest. Thank you so much for making my long drive home fun and feel like no time at all. Oh,
That's
you're
so
welcome, because
sweet.
we have 5 more minutes, Christina. Trust me, you're not going to miss anything. Nothing but goodbye. Oh my gosh. Okay, so Misha says, "Oh, that's great." Okay, now I'm gonna go down this long list because I had some viewers that come in that they don't show up here.
Oh,
Let's see who came in. Hello, Wesleyan. Um, how are you? And let's see who else. Natasha and Saxon and hi, Rocky. How are you? Vanessa, thanks for watching. Hello, Patricia and Marlene. How are you? Oh, Galen came and watched. Oh, okay. Thanks for watching. Hi, Camille and Ella Hibbert. How are you all? And okay, Ollie Augustine. I hope I said your name right. Thanks for joining us. And hi, Andrea. How are you? Uh, I had another one. Harvard Lisa, Angela, you have the best people on. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I tried to search far and wide, and I can't take credit for this because my friend Kimberly Brown, you all probably know her as Nanny Kim on the Go. She has introduced me to some awesome people. She introduced me to my little Mimi, Shada Lambert. I tell you, we live parallel lives. And she introduced me to Rainey. She said, I just got off the phone. I got so much work done, and we did this and we did that. And then she told me sign language, and I thought about you, and I told her she needed me. And she was going on. I said, hold on, slow down. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? I was in the middle of the grocery store with earplugs in my ear, and you know how people come by, hey, what electric company do you have? What I was like, AT&T was in there, Spectrum was in there, and somebody else was in there. I was like, hello, I'm on the phone. I got earplugs in my ear. I'm on the phone. Oh, sorry. And Kim just talking. I said, hold on, Kim. You're going to have to start all over. I said, now, what? So she told me all about Rainy, and I was like, and then at the same afternoon, Rainy comes into a live with me and Shada, who Kim introduced me to. And Shada says, yes, she popped onto our live and my live, and she's so interested. And she said, I love her. I love her. I was like, okay. Now, if Kim said it and Shada said, I got to talk to this person. So I got to talking to her, and now we're collaborating on several things. So it never trust me. If you all have some interesting people that you need me to know, or you think I may be interested in, please contact me because that's how I find these little gems. They're hidden, and just to you all, I want you all to give her a hand clap because this is her first time on Facebook Live. Please give her a hand clap.
thank
She
you.
does a podcast but has never done Facebook Live. So but she did a great job and very informative, I might add.
Thanks.
Very, very. Um, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Uh, any last tips on sign language, teaching your baby sign language, or getting in with community? Hold on, let me flash your banner again one more time so you all will know how to find her. She's on Instagram.com/OS Simply Signs
Mm-hmm.
and at www.ososimply.com. So go look her up, follow her on Instagram, and check out her website. And I'm sure if you click on the little contact box, you can contact her so you all can get on Zoom or Skype or Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, FaceTime. It's too many faces on FaceTime, and you all can practice. And I probably need to practice. Yes,
We gonna
practice,
practice.
practice, practice.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. Thanks for having me. This was really fun. I feel good. I'm like, okay, lives. I can do this.
Yes, you can.
Um But yeah, so I'm looking forward to announcing our product. I'm excited about that. We're gonna be collaborating soon. So yeah.
Yay! So you all be looking for the new products. Uh, Follow her. Oh, she has a 2 pages on Facebook also.
Oh yeah, I do. You guys show me some love on Facebook. I'm still learning how to use it, so be a little patient. But I'm on Facebook now.
She's on Facebook. Look at Oh So Simply. Look it up. You hit the search bar, hit Oh So Simply. You'll find Oh So Simply and Oh So Simply signs. Follow both of them. Okay?
Thank
I'm just
you.
saying. Okay, hold on. We got comments.
Oh,
Uh Meech is giving you hand claps,
thank you.
and Harper Lee says whoop whoop, and Caitlin says excellent. Can't wait to connect with you on Insta. And
Sweet.
Meech says you did a wonderful job,
Thanks.
and
Making faces.
Harper Lee says LOL. Too many faces. I know, right? And she said, she just liked you. See,
Thanks.
everybody follow M. Harper lead, follow her lead. Go to Also Simply signs, and like Instagram, Also Simply signs. Like her there. Follow her there. Like her on Facebook. Follow her there. And if you all enjoyed this, please go to Ask the Nanny page, uh, and leave us a review, or leave us a like. Follow us if you haven't followed us. Leave us a review. I said us, me. I'm speaking it. I'm speaking it into existence, because it's gonna be bigger than me one day.
Ma'am!
Yeah,
She's here.
there she is.
It was.
Yes, it was. It was totally amazing. Don't you see all the hand claps? They tell her she did an excellent job. And I told her how I just talked about you. So your ears, that's why she's here. Her ears were burning.
Mm-hmm.
That's why she's here. Her ears were burning. And Misha says, yes, it was amazing. So yeah, her ears are burning. That's why she's here. Okay. And so do you have a YouTube channel too?
I do. Yep. YouTube.com/ososimply.
Yes, follow both of us at youtube.com/ oh so simply, youtube.com/ask the nanny. Hello, follow us on our social media. I am on um Instagram, and da, 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 I just opened a brand new page for my recipes galore. So from now on, I will be cooking on my new page. It's called ATN underscore recipes underscore galore. So ATN as in Ask the Nanny, recipes galore. Just look it up. You'll find it. You'll find me. And what you'll see, I don't have my picture on there. I have a picture of the s'mores brownies that I made. Oh,
And she just
okay.
made a green bean casserole on there.
Yes, and I'm getting ready to. I tried a new recipe tonight that I'm going to be premiering on Friday. We're going to be cooking it on Friday. So this is the alternative to, you can use it as a cake, you can use it as a pie, or just one of your desserts, or just, family is coming for Thanksgiving. All the cakes and all the pies are gone. This one is so simple, but it tastes so yummy.
I'm looking
You have
forward
to
to
find
that.
out. You have to join me on Friday to find out. But tomorrow, please join me for two things. At 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, um, on my page, my regular page, my personal page on Ask the Nanny. I mean, my personal page on Facebook, and my new channel page on Instagram, ATN underscore recipes underscore galore. I'm going to be making what I like to call my peppermint mocha balls.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they are. It's like a party favor. appetizer for parties. I take every Christmas party that we go to, and my husband said, "What are you making?" Same thing. It's so easy. It's no bake. No, it doesn't require cooking. It's like boom, boom. There we go. Thank you, M. Harper Lee. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And tomorrow night on the U.S. Nanny Association page, I am the director of nannies for the U.S. Nanny Association. Join us for our Friendsgiving webinar. We're going to be sharing recipes, art projects, traditions. I have some storytellers who are going to be sharing some books that you can share with your children about Thanksgiving. We're going to have lots and lots of fun. So you all join us tomorrow. And I think that's it. Do you have any announcements?
Nope.
Okay. No announcements here. Okay. So thank you all for joining us. And we will see you all next week. Same time, same place. Bye bye. You all have a great week.